In episode 169, Gu Yu, a half-saint, has appeared and is about to engage in a fierce battle with Xiao Yan. Make sure to watch episodes 168 to 175. We've clearly divided them into parts so you can follow the story easily. Under the shade of the Bodhi ancient tree, he endured countless cycles of reincarnation. When he finally awoke, his cultivation leaped from 9-star Do Venerate directly to 9-turn Do Venerate, shocking all witnesses. Even more fortunate, he was granted countless Bodhi seeds by the ancient tree, which made both the Hun clan and the heavenly demon Phoenix clan burn with envy. Han Yu, a powerhouse at the 8-turn Do Venerate level, brazenly demanded the Bodhi seeds, his voice full of menace. But Xiao Yan was no fool. He knew clearly that Bodhi seeds could help a Do Venerate step into the ranks of a Do San. Handing them over would be no different than courting death. Xiao Yan smiled calmly, looked directly at Hun Yu and said, "If you want them, come and take them yourself." Hun Yu's handsome, jade-like face immediately darkened, murderous intent flooding forth. What he hated most was Xiao Yan's relaxed, confident demeanor, as though everything was already in his grasp. Han Yu sneered coldly, believing Xiao Yan was only bluffing, but Xiao Yan remained unmoved, speaking indifferently. "Those little tricks in the shadows are useless against me." As soon as his words fell, Xiao Yan suddenly punched into the empty space on his left. Scorching energy shattered the void, forcing Hun Yu to reveal himself, staggering back. He never expected his stealth to be completely exposed, his expression growing gloomier. Without wasting words, Xiao Yan stepped forward. His aura surged like a vast ocean, covering the entire void, suffocating weaker cultivators. The spectators trembled in shock, for they could clearly sense that Xiao Yan now stood at the very peak of the 9-turn Do Venerate, countless times stronger than he had been just a month ago. Even Hun Yu shivered. At last he understood why Xiao Yan dared to remain so composed. His cultivation had far surpassed his own. Still, Hun Yu forcefully ignited his clan's markings, his aura erupting to the extreme limit of the 8-turn Do Venerate. Xiao Yan merely shook his head blandly. That level is still not enough. Enraged, Han Yu formed hand seals, condensing a dark palm print, accompanied by eerie wails and distorted faces of souls, his killing move the soul-destroying palm. Yet before Xiao Yan, with just a casual wave of his hand, the palm shattered like brittle glass. Hun Yu was horrified, unable to believe such a lethal technique had been so easily dispelled. Looking down coldly from above, Xiao Yan said with disdain, "The so-called methods of the Han clan are not even worth mentioning." Fury surged in Hun Yu's chest, but he also understood the disparity was overwhelming. Xiao Yan gave him no further chance. He waved his hand flames, forming a colossal palm that descended from the heavens. Han Yu desperately summoned countless shadowy beasts to resist, yet the instant they touched the fire, they were reduced to nothingness. Finally, his defenses were crushed by the fiery palm blood spraying from his mouth as he fell heavily, gravely wounded. The crowd gasped in terror, thankful they were not the ones standing opposite Xiao Yan. Xiao Yang then struck again from afar, sending several Hun clan and heavenly demon Phoenix clan experts flying. Jufeng, witnessing Hun Yu's miserable defeat, turned pale with fear. Just as Xiao Yan was about to seize the opportunity to eradicate his foes, the entire space suddenly trembled. The Bodhi ancient tree emitted a deep hum, the earth flowing like mercury, as the colossal trunk slowly sank into the ground. A wave of regret washed over all present, for perhaps in their entire lives, they would never again witness such a sight, let alone the legendary Bodhi heart. Only Xiao Yan was aware that within his own chest, a jade-green Bodhi heart was quietly radiating light. At the very moment everyone lowered their guard, space around them twisted violently like an invisible cage, sealing all escape. Above the skies behind Jufeng, a colossal heavenly emperor phantom appeared. Its wings covered the heavens, sealing the entire area with oppressive might. Feeling Xiao Yan's cold gaze sweep over, Jufeng panicked and shouted toward Hun Yu, "Are you still not acting?" Hun Yu sneered sinisterly, taking out a scroll and crushing it. Instantly, spatial ripples surged into Jufeng's body. Borrowing its force, he tore open the void, revealing a deep, pitch-black passage. From within, the crack waves of terrifying pressure spread out, causing everyone's faces to change. It was the aura of a half-sage. Xiao Yan immediately recognized that they were summoning a powerhouse of the clan. Moments later, a pale skeletal hand stretched out from the void fissure. A hoarse cough echoed as an old, hunched figure in grey robes emerged leaning on a skull-shaped staff. His hollow eyes glowed with eerie green light, sending chills down the spines of all who looked. Yu hurriedly stepped forward, explaining that Xiao Yan had reached the peak of the 9-turn Du Venerate and possessed the Bodhi seeds, thus requiring the elder to act personally. This elder was none other than Yu. His green eyes gleamed as he stared intently at Xiao Yan, his shriveled face curling into a strange smile. Qingyang and the other elders of the Gu clan immediately attempted to use spatial scrolls to call for aid, but discovered that all fluctuations were blocked by Feng's Heavenly Emperor Phantom, preventing transmission. Yu swept his gaze around, declaring himself once the second Heavenly Venerate of the Hall of Souls, but now preferring the title of Saint Yu. He said he had long heard of Xiao Yan, especially intrigued by his ability to fuse different heavenly flames. Under the crushing aura of this half-sage, Xiao Yan understood the massive gap between them. He resolved silently after this battle he must refine the Bodhi heart and step into the half-sage realm as soon as possible. Unfurling his green-red skeletal wings, Xiao Yan instructed Shun to buy time. On Shuna's forehead, a 7-colored sigil appeared, her aura surging as golden flames erupted in her eyes. She stood firmly in front of Yu. Though Yu acknowledged her divine-grade bloodline potential, he remained confident she was far from his match. His figure blurred, instantly appearing before her with a palm strike. Shuna staggered back from the blow, but immediately formed seals. The golden flames within her body exploded forth, blazing like a sun that set the skies aflame. Yu stared at the terrifying fire and slowly uttered its name. The Golden Emperor Flame ranked 4th on the Heavenly Flame ranking, the inherited flame of the Gu clan. He had not expected Shun to control such a flame, and his heart shook. The Golden Emperor Flame's power was so immense that even Xiao Yan's fused flames might not surpass it. Battle continues. Shun deploys the Golden Emperor Burning Flame Array. Yu fuses with his skeletal avatar. The array shatters. Finally, Xiao Yan condenses the Buddha's Wrath Flame, Lotus, infused with 5 flames, blasting apart Yu's myriad soul's bone armor, leaving him gravely wounded. At this moment, Xiao Yan held in his palm a perfect 5-colored flame lotus, rotating slowly like a masterpiece of divine art. The destructive energy it released twisted the surrounding space. Seeing it, Yu's skeletal form rasped that it must be the product of flame fusion. Yet Xiao Yan only sneered coldly, raising his hand as the flame lotus spun faster. Terrifying waves of annihilation spread out, making onlookers tremble just to glance at it. Xiao Yan warned Shun to retreat quickly, for once the lotus erupted, even he could barely control its devastating might. Sensing the threat, Shun quickly withdrew, with Qingyang and the others. The skeletal avatar laughed hideously, trying to crush Xiao Yan's spirit. The gulf between a Do Venerate and a half-sage can never be crossed, but Xiao Yan did not waver. With a flick of his finger, the flame lotus shot forward like a streak of light. Wherever it passed, the void silently collapsed, leaving behind a yawning black fissure. There was no deafening explosion, yet every expert present felt the clear aura of death within it. Yu dared not be careless. He spat out black qi, manifesting the myriad soul's bone armor. Ferocious souls burst from his body, merging into a pale armor that radiated dark light. It was embedded with countless bone fragments, each etched with a twisted, tormented face, combining into a grotesque visage that sent chills through the crowd. But before his words even finished, the flame lotus crashed violently against it. For a moment, heaven and earth seemed to halt. Then came a world-shaking detonation, followed by a fiery storm 1,000 meters wide, tearing apart space and splitting the ground into massive fissures. Spectators were horrified. Even Zhu Feng's Heavenly Emperor Phantom was ripped apart, leaving him grievously injured and coughing blood. When the flames subsided, Yu's skeletal form still stood, but his armor began to crack and crumble. Soon his body split apart, his ghostly green eyes dimming before his entire skeletal frame disintegrated into ash. Far away, Yu's true body coughed blood, face pale as he regained clarity. Wiping his lips, he coldly declared, "Even gravely wounded, I will still take Xiao Yan's life." But at that instant, Xiao Yan transformed into a colossal golden figure, his fist slamming Yu back, leaving him battered. Just as Yu prepared to retaliate again, a spatial crack opened. Yao Lao Yao Chen stepped forth. He mocked, "To rely on your seniority and bully a junior, truly disgraceful. Xiao Yan rejoiced at his teacher's timely arrival, but Yao Lao merely said calmly, "I came only because I was worried." Moments later, Elder Tongshuan also descended using a spatial scroll. Two half-sages stood at Xiao Yan's side, making Gu Yu's face darken to its limit. After weighing his options, Gu Yu gritted his teeth and withdrew with the remnants of the Han clan and heavenly demon Phoenix clan. Yao Lao and Tongshuan Elder warned Xiao Yan, "The Han clan will never let this go. The Falling Star Pavilion will inevitably face even greater storms in the future." Xiao Yan understood deeply only by refining the Bodhi heart, and stepping into the half-sage realm could he face the coming upheaval. Tongshuan Elder added firmly, "The Gu clan will always watch the Han clan's movements. When needed, we will not stand idly by." In the end, he led Shun and the others back to the Gu realm, while Xiao Yan and Yao Lao prepared for seclusion. Everyone knew this clash was merely the prelude. Greater storms awaited on the horizon. Xiao Yan shatters limits 9-turn Dao Venerate, stepping into the semi-sage realm. Awakening, he cuts down, Hun Yu crushes, Zhu Feng of the heavenly demon, Phoenix clan, and shakes the battlefield. From the shadows, Gu Yu of the Han clan descends. Just when hope fades, Yao Lao arrives, saving Xiao Yan and the Gu clan in the nick of time. Finally, after leaving the Bodhi ancient tree, Xiao Yan and his companions returned to the Falling Star Pavilion, carrying with them tremendous harvest, the Bodhi heart, along with 11 Bodhi seeds. This was an opportunity for him to break through to semi-sage while the Han clan returned empty-handed. Back at Falling Star Pavilion, Xiao Yan postponed his refinement and spent time adjusting his state and preparing carefully. Yao Lao spared no effort, spending half a month to refine a Bodhi pill that would greatly increase Xiao Yan's chance of success. Their master-disciple bond was deeply portrayed when Xiao Yan kowtowed in gratitude, treating Yao Lao not only as a teacher, but also as a father figure. Finally, Xiao Yan entered seclusion, beginning a 2-year closed-door cultivation, preparing for a pivotal moment in his life, breaking through to semi-sage to oppose the Han clan and seize the purifying demonic lotus flame. After consuming the Bodhi heart and Bodhi pill, Xiao Yan remained in seclusion for 2 full years, causing everyone in Falling Star Pavilion to be both anxious and expectant. During that time, under the leadership of Yao Lao and Honorable Feng, Falling Star Pavilion flourished, attracting countless experts due to the fame of the Bodhi pill.
Yet at that very moment catastrophe struck. A tide of half-saint adversaries descended upon the Falling Star Pavilion, forcing Yao Lao, Medusa and the pavilion's experts to resist with their very lives. Yao Lao had nearly fallen, his life hanging by a thread. No one could have foreseen that Xiao Yan's seclusion would extend for a full 2 years. At first it was believed that with the Bodhi heart and the Bodhi pill, a single year would be enough for Xiao Yan to step into half-saint. Moreover, the Bodhi heart had long been rumored to grant a Du Venerate the chance to directly ascend into the realm of Du Sant. Yet matters unfolded far beyond all expectations. A year slipped away in silence, and the stone gate of Xiao Yan's retreat grew thick, with moss, wild grass creeping across its surface until it became a forbidden ground within the Falling Star Pavilion. Though countless hearts were restless, Yao Lao could still faintly sense that weak yet steady aura emanating from deep within the mountain, proof that Xiao Yan was undergoing a most crucial metamorphosis. Thus, all they could do was wait. None dared interfere. And while the pavilion held its breath, the vast central plains had already begun to shift, the tides of fate turning in silence. The Hall of Souls Hundian had yet to retaliate, granting the Falling Star Pavilion the perfect chance to rise with unstoppable momentum, especially when word spread that Yao Lao had mastered the art of refining. The supreme Bodhi pill, countless reclusive peak Du Venerates emerged from the shadows, one after another, pledging allegiance. All harbored the hope that one day they might obtain such a priceless spiritual elixir. To win Yao Lao's trust, they willingly contributed their strength to the pavilion, ushering in a surge of growth and prosperity. With so many experts joining, the pavilion's power swiftly soared until it rivaled the ancient heavenly netherworld sect, Tian Ming sect. Yet as both sides vied for dominance, conflict inevitably erupted. At first, their strengths were evenly matched, locked in stalemate. But in time, the heavenly netherworld sect, allied with other great factions such as the Ice River Valley, the Wind, Lightning Pavilion, and many others, forming the formidable Netherworld Alliance, Minghe Alliance. This coalition shattered the fragile balance. Once the Netherworld Alliance was established, their combined might grew overwhelming, launching relentless assaults against the Falling Star Pavilion. Caught off guard at first, the Falling Star Pavilion was forced to contract its territory. Yet even so, Yao Lao and the other elders remained calm. They regarded this not as disaster, but as an opportunity to restructure their foundation. The pavilion had grown too quickly, like a towering body with a hollow frame, seemingly mighty yet fragile within. Thus, they chose to withdraw into defense, concentrating their power upon vital regions while establishing spatial passageways between their strongholds to ensure reinforcements could arrive without delay. Through this strategy, the pavilion's defensive lines grew ever more solid. Time and again, the Netherworld Alliance launched fierce offensives, yet all were repelled. At last, they were forced to retreat in frustration. Though the Great War cost the Falling Star Pavilion some territory, its renown now spread far and wide across the Central Plains. To stand alone against an alliance of mighty factions yet still preserve its strength, such a feat was by no means ordinary. The Netherworld Alliance had originally intended to use the battle as a warning to all other forces, never imagining that the clash would instead cast the Falling Star Pavilion into even greater prominence. This outcome left the Heavenly Netherworld sect and its allies deeply unsettled. Yet the peace within the Central Plains did not last long. Suddenly, earth-shattering news spread across the land. The Spirit Clan, one of the three immortal ancient clans, had vanished completely. Since the time of Xiao Yan's return from the Heavenly Tomb, there had been rumors that the spatial realm of the Spirit Clan had abruptly sealed itself, though few had paid attention. But recently, when the entrance to the Spirit Realm reopened, those who ventured within found only desolation, ruins, and silence. Millions of descendants had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind not the faintest clue. This revelation shook the Central Plains to its core, casting dread and confusion among the great powers. Many speculated that the clan had been annihilated, but even the mightiest of the ancient clans would find it nearly impossible to erase the Spirit Clan in such silence. Every conjecture proved insufficient to explain this mysterious disappearance, deepening the sense of dread. Even within the ranks of the immortal ancient clans, shockwaves rippled forth. Relations among the ancient clans were ever intricate, not true allies, yet not wholly enemies. Cooperation existed, but so too did endless rivalry. The fall of the Spirit Clan inevitably called to mind the great battle for the Emperor Jade in ages past. Judging by strength within the 8 ancient clans, only the Gu clan and the Hun clan possessed the power to accomplish such a deed. Suspicion most heavily fell upon the Hun clan, a force shrouded in mystery, infamous for its cruel and unfathomable methods. Thus, many secretly believed it was the Hun clan pulling the strings behind this calamity. Yet all remained speculation. The true secret behind the Spirit Clan's disappearance lingered in shadow, an unsolved riddle. The vanishing of the Spirit Clan not only plunged the Central Plains into shock, but also draped the entire continent in an air of unease. Though the furor eventually quieted, undercurrents began to stir within the ancient clans themselves. As time flowed on, the echoes of the Spirit Tribe incident gradually faded, while the Central Plains continued to be engulfed by new waves of turmoil. Deep within the remote mountains where the Falling Star Pavilion resided, Xiao Yan had remained in seclusion for nearly 2 years. At first, everyone believed that with the Bodhi heart in his possession, he would surely break through to Half-Saint within a year. Yet 2 full years had passed, and the stone gates of his chamber remained utterly silent, showing no sign of movement. So quiet had it been that weeds and moss now clung thickly to the doors, as though time itself had forsaken them. As new disciples gradually took the place of their seniors, Xiao Yan's prolonged absence began to stir suspicion. Some of the honored guest elders started to waver in confidence. After all, a breakthrough to Half-Saint should have shaken heaven and earth with strange phenomena. Yet the mountains where Xiao Yan secluded himself remained ever serene, without the slightest fluctuation. Even so, Yao Lao's faith did not falter. He had witnessed Xiao Yan's journey firsthand, from a frail youth into the formidable figure he was today. He understood the young man's willpower and potential. Thus, despite the murmurs from outside, he chose to wait steadfastly. Just as the pavilion was abuzz with rumors about Xiao Yan's long seclusion, a looming threat suddenly arose. A coalition of the Heavenly Netherworld sect, the Ice River Valley, and the Wind Lightning Pavilion, known as the Netherworld Alliance, delivered a blood-red war declaration, proclaiming their intent to attack the Falling Star Pavilion within half a month. The challenge came abruptly. Having remained quiet for over a year, the Netherworld Alliance's sudden aggression clearly showed they had prepared well. Yao Lao sneered coldly, recognizing that the enemy must now have a powerful backer, likely the ancient monster of the Heavenly Netherworld sect, finally emerging from seclusion. At his side, Medusa wore a grave expression, warning Yao Lao not to underestimate the threat. For if the Netherworld Alliance dared to strike so directly, they surely believed victory was within their grasp. Though the pavilion had grown stronger under Yao Lao's leadership during the past 2 years, facing the full might of the Netherworld Alliance, would mean a battle of unimaginable ferocity. What troubled everyone most was that Xiao Yan still had not emerged. For the past year, the Falling Star Pavilion and the Netherworld Alliance had been locked in a fragile standoff. Despite uniting numerous factions, the Alliance had not dared to launch a full-scale war, restrained by a single man, Yao Lao. As a peak half-saint, he alone commanded enough power to keep the entire Alliance at bay. Unless they could deploy 2 experts of equal rank, the foundation of the Falling Star Pavilion would not be shaken. Yet even the heavenly Netherworld sect, with all its ancient heritage, possessed only one such supreme elder long confined in seclusion. As for their allies, like the Ice River Valley, they had no half-saint to send at all. For a long time, the enemy could only launch small-scale ambushes to seize fleeting advantages, never once able to topple the Falling Star Pavilion, Xing Yun Ge. Yet this time was entirely different. The Netherworld Alliance Ming. He Alliance not only sent forth a formal declaration of war, but even threatened to strike directly at the pavilion's headquarters. Such an unusual move immediately stirred caution in Yao Lao. He understood that if the enemy dared to act so boldly, they must have secured new backing. Perhaps the long reclusive Grand Elder of the heavenly Netherworld sect had emerged, or else they had found another formidable ally. Whatever the case, the Falling Star Pavilion could not afford negligence. Preparations for a decisive battle were mandatory. Yao Lao swiftly issued orders: recall the elders from their missions abroad, fortify key sectors, and dispatch scouts to probe the movements of the Netherworld Alliance. The one to oversee these commands was none other than Kai Lin. In just 2 short years, her strength and renown had advanced by leaps and bounds. From a mere 5-star Du Venerate, she had broken through to the very peak of the realm. Her astonishing talent, coupled with her rare decisiveness and leadership, earned her respect not only as Xiao Yan's consort, but as a formidable figure in her own right. And yet, despite all preparations, unease still lingered within Kai Lin's heart. Xiao Yan had remained in seclusion for 2 full years without the slightest sign of emergence. Though Yao Lao constantly reassured her that his breakthrough was near each passing day, saw the stone gate remain silent and unmoving. The fated battle drew ever closer, but one of the pavilion's greatest pillars of strength had yet to appear. Kai Lin gazed at the moss-covered stone gate, her eyes filled with mingled hope and dread. After she and Yao Lao departed, the ancient gate quivered ever so faintly. A hairline crack appeared upon its surface, as if heralding that something momentous was about to change. All throughout the Falling Star Pavilion, the atmosphere was suffocating. The sect had entered the highest state of alert. At last, the day of reckoning proclaimed by the Netherworld Alliance had arrived. News of the impending clash spread like wildfire across the central plains, drawing countless experts to witness the event. Though most came merely to spectate, the enemy did not turn them away. Instead, they sealed the surrounding regions and deployed strict patrols to prevent unforeseen disturbances. Atop the towering sky peak Tianfeng before the Grand Hall, a vast stone plaza had been leveled to serve as today's battlefield. Yao Lao stood with his hands clasped behind his back, silent and resolute. Behind him gathered Kai Lin, Little Fairy, Dr. Qing Lin, and the pavilion's core forces, all assembled in grim readiness. The air was heavy, thick with foreboding, as if heralding a duel of life and death. This battle would determine the very fate of the Falling Star Pavilion. Suddenly, space itself was torn asunder. From the rift stepped forth legions of the Netherworld Alliance. At their head strode a fearsome, ancient monster, the long-secluded powerhouse of the heavenly Netherworld sect, known to the world as the old demon Tianming Lao Yao. The moment he emerged, his oppressive aura swept forth. With chilling indifference, he issued his demand. The Falling Star Pavilion was to immediately withdraw from a 1,000-mile radius and swear eternal submission, never again to stand against the Netherworld Alliance. An arrogant demand, nothing short of forcing the Falling Star Pavilion to bow before the world was declared. The instant those words fell, the great formation secretly laid in advance flared to life, imprisoning the forces of the Netherworld Alliance within. The atmosphere between the two sides was taut as a drawn bowstring ready to snap at any moment. Suddenly, the old demon of the heavenly Netherworld sect let out a sinister smile. At his summons, space cracked once more. 2 chilling auras surged forth, familiar yet oppressive. They were experts from the Hall of Souls Hundian, led by the second heavenly venerate Gu Yu. Alongside him came another half-saint, and with the old demon's presence, the enemy now commanded 3 half-saints in total. The warriors of the Falling Star Pavilion drew in sharp breaths, faces pale with dread. Yao Lao's expression grew dark. Only now did he understand why the Netherworld Alliance had dared act with such arrogance. Before such despairing odds, there was no retreat, only battle. His gaze hardened. Today's war was not merely for the pavilion's honor, but for the lives of everyone present. At his command, the pavilion's experts unleashed their fiercest auras, shaking the very heavens. Far away upon the surface of an ancient stone gate, faint cracks slowly spread as though heralding the awakening of something long dormant. Seeing Yao Lao's refusal to yield, the old demon's grin twisted into a snarl as he ordered a full assault. Gu Yu sneered, vowing to reap souls this day, utterly disregarding the pavilion. Against 3 half-saints, Yao Lao swiftly devised his strategy, facing both the old demon and Gu Yu alone, while Medusa, Little Dr. Fairy, and Qinglin joined forces to restrain the remaining half-saint of the Hall of Souls. It was a perilous gamble, for to face 2 foes of equal rank alone seemed reckless. Yet Yao Lao knew if they were not stopped, the pavilion would be annihilated. The battle erupted. Both sides clashed with such ferocity that the entire star region was thrown into chaos. Yao Lao ignited his Dao Qi, locking firmly onto his 2 adversaries, ignoring their mockery as he struck first. Meanwhile, Kai Lin transformed into the 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. Xiao Yan released a flood of virulent poison, and Qinglin summoned the phantom of an ancient heavenly serpent. Their combined might forced the 3 heavenly venerates of the Hall of Souls onto the defensive, unable to seize advantage for the moment. Yet while the pavilion bled and roared in the star realm deep in the rear mountains, the ancient stone gate began to fracture fissures, creeping down into the mountain's heart as though something was stirring from slumber. High above, Yao Lao battled alone against 2 half-saints. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, but still he endured. The 7-colored python form of Kai Lin was grievously wounded, scales shattered and blood streaming. Xiao Yan was struck down, falling to the earth exhausted, while Qinglin too faltered under the onslaught. In that moment of distraction, Gu Yu seized an opening, striking Yao Lao from the sky and smashing him into the ground. With their strongest warrior fallen, despair consumed the pavilion. The old demon declared victory, preparing to end Yao Lao's life. Many believed this day would mark the pavilion's erasure from history. But at that instant, heaven and earth quaked. Flames erupted like a boundless sea, and a cold, commanding roar shook the souls of all who heard, echoing through the 9 heavens. A power far beyond half-saint descended, leaving both the old demon and Gu Yu pale with dread. A docent impossible. The figure who appeared was none other than Xiao Yan. After 2 years of seclusion, not only had he broken through, he had stepped firmly into the true realm of Dusan.
Xiao Yan emerged from seclusion, breaking through directly to the realm of Dusan. After giving his instructions, Xiao Yan slowly lifted his head toward the sky, where Gu Yu, old demon Tianming, and the 3 heavenly venerable of the Hall of Souls were gathered, their eyes filled with caution as they stared at him. Xiao Yang's calm gaze caused their expressions to stiffen. None of them had anticipated the situation would reverse so abruptly. With just their senses, they realized Xiao Yan's current power, a true doucent, not merely a half-saint. The difference between half-saint and doucent was vast, though only 1 word apart. A half-saint, no matter how much stronger than the peak of du-venerat, was still only a false saint, while only a true doucent could set foot on the highest level. Gu Yu had been stuck at this barrier for decades without success, old demon Tianming for even longer. Yet Xiao Yan, in only 2 short years, had bypassed the half-saint stage entirely and directly reached doucent. This left them deeply shaken. Xiao Yang's body flickered, and in an instant he appeared before the 3. Gu Yu let out a dark shout, pretending calm, though inwardly shocked, for he knew that even if a doucent of the Han clan were summoned, it would not arrive in time. Xiao Yan waved his hand, instantly sealing the space and leaving them no retreat. The 3 exchanged glances, knowing clearly that if they did not join forces, they would certainly die. Simultaneously, they erupted with battle qi, condensing 3 monstrous torrents of energy like fierce dragons lunging toward Xiao Yan. His eyes gleamed, and calmly he raised his palm. Within it, 4 kinds of heavenly flames ignited together, swirling into a pitch-black vortex, darker than even a spatial black hole, radiating an aura of reincarnation. This was his new technique, Buddha's wrath reincarnation. The fiery vortex drifted outward and struck against the 3 torrents. In that instant, the entire sky seemed to collapse, but to everyone's horror, the torrents were instantly swallowed, dissolving like ice under fire, vanishing without a trace, as even space quaked and showed signs of breaking. The combined might of 3 half-saints could not even shake Xiao Yan's attack. Yao Lao gazed at the vortex, his heart trembling at the aura of annihilation, an aura that could even erase souls. Gu Yu, old demon Tianming, and the 3 heavenly venerable panicked, realizing fully that they were no match. They turned to flee, but Xiao Yan merely let out a cold snort, and the vortex spewed forth a black pillar of light that engulfed them as they retreated. Those caught within disintegrated swiftly, their battle chi collapsing, their screams echoing across the star realm. In utter despair, old demon Tianming chose to self-destruct his body, exploding into a terrifying sea of energy that cracked part of the spatial seal. Yet Xiao Yan calmly formed seals, and the vortex devoured the blast, entirely rendering his sacrifice meaningless. Amidst the chaos, Gu Yu shoved the three heavenly venerable forward as bait, seizing the chance to escape. Xiao Yan struck with one palm, reducing the venerable to ashes before he could even scream. Just as Gu Yu slipped away, space trembled, and a withered black hand reached out from the void, seizing him. It was the means of a Han clan du sant. Xiao Yan immediately countered his black flames, colliding with the hand, the space trembling violently under the clash. In the end, however, the Han clan expert succeeded in dragging Gu Yu away. Before leaving, he left behind a message. If Xiao Yan wished to save Xiaozhan your father, he must come to the Han realm. Xiao Yan responded coldly, "Sooner or later I will come." The great battle of the Star Realm thus ended. Falling Star Pavilion, thanks to Xiao Yan, preserved its foundation, while his reputation spread like wildfire across the Central Plains. Alone, he had slain 2 half-saints and forced the Han clan to dispatch a Du Saint. From this day forth, none dared to underestimate Xiao Yan or Falling Star Pavilion again. Yet Xiao Yan knew clearly the true enemy still lay ahead, and the coming war with the Han clan would only grow more brutal. Xiao Yang had successfully broken through to become a Du Sant, his momentum like a raging storm, consecutively slaying 2 half-saint experts. Afterward, he led Falling Star Pavilion in a purge, sweeping away the remaining remnants of the heavenly netherworld sect. Their next target was none other than the Wind Lightning Pavilion. In this volume, we will follow the developments that ensue. At this moment, at the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, Xiao Yan floated in the sky, his cold gaze cast down upon the chaotic mountain engulfed in flames. Leading the great army of Falling Star Pavilion, he had marched straight north, annihilating countless scattered forces of the Mingyi alliance along the way. Within his heart now remained no trace of mercy. He understood clearly that if he had not emerged in time, with the methods of the heavenly netherworld sect and the Hall of Souls Falling Star Pavilion, would have long since faced annihilation, wiped out without a trace, and perhaps even more miserably. The Central Plains was a land where the strong devoured the weak. Only with absolute power and unyielding strength could one endure. Honorable Lei, the leader of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, had been struck to the point of vomiting blood by a Du Venerate of Falling Star Pavilion. His venomous eyes glared at Xiao Yan as he roared furiously, "Xiao Yan, my Wind Lightning Pavilion has close ties with the heavenly demon Phoenix clan. If you dare destroy the pavilion, they will never let you go." Xiao Yan only replied indifferently, "The enmity between me and the heavenly demon Phoenix clan will have to be resolved sooner or later. I don't need you to remind me." His gaze fixed upon Honorable Lei, recalling the time when he had first entered the Wind Lightning mountain range back then. This man had been like an insurmountable peak, able to crush him with a mere wave of his hand. But today the situation had been completely reversed. 28 of Falling Star Pavilion's experts died by your hands. If you dared kill them back then, you should have known that today would come. Xiao Yang's eyes were icy cold as his hand slowly clenched. Honorable Lei, panic-stricken, immediately unleashed the 3,000 lightning movement, his figure splitting into countless lightning shadows across the sky. Yet Xiao Yan only sneered faintly as his hand tightened. Space itself collapsed, all the shadows froze, and blood and flesh exploded. In an instant, Honorable Lei was crushed into a mangled heap of meat, not even managing to utter final words. The Wind Lightning Pavilion, once a power that could summon the wind and rain across the northern region, was officially erased from the Central Plains. As Xiao Yan withdrew his hand, an elder of Falling Star Pavilion approached to report young Pavilion Master news of the Han clan has arrived. In recent years, they have been continuously suppressed by the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Their power has declined, and they have fallen from a first-rate clan to a second-rate one. The fact that they have even survived is already fortunate. Hearing this, Xiao Yan fell silent, a faint trace of guilt stirring in his heart. He knew the Han clan's suffering was because of him. Years ago, when he first arrived in the Central Plains, it was Han Shui who had saved him from the Desert of Death. He had once aided the Han clan in destroying the Hong clan and restoring their prestige, but in the years that followed, they had been oppressed to ruin by the Wind Lightning Pavilion, all due to their ties with him. Xiao Yan was no ungrateful man. Remembering the kindness of the past, he immediately dispatched 3 elders of Falling Star Pavilion to provide aid. In Northern Heaven City, the 3 elders of Falling Star Pavilion appeared. With a casual wave of their hands, they struck down the so-called experts bullying the Han clan. Han Shi, the clan leader, trembled as he bowed in respect, while beside him 2 women, Han Yue and Han Shui, stared in astonishment as though divine beings had descended. The elders of Falling Star Pavilion smiled faintly as they declared, "By the command of young Pavilion Master Xiao Yan, from this day forth, the Han clan shall take the place of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, becoming the ruling power of the North." Upon hearing that name, Han Shui trembled, her eyes misting with tears. In her heart, this was not only the chance to restore her clan, but also proof that Xiao Yan had never forgotten the kindness of years past. In just 10 days of vengeance, more than 20 factions were annihilated. Falling Star Pavilion rose like the midday sun, causing the entire Central Plains to tremble with fear. From this point forward, none dared look down upon this young power. Yet Xiao Yan and Yao Lao understood clearly the true enemies were not the Wind Lightning Pavilion, but the Hall of Souls and the Han clan. To resist them, they would need to form an alliance swiftly. Letters were dispatched to the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley. Only when the 3 great powers stood together would the alliance have the strength to face the Hall of Souls. And above all, the Pill Tower, the gathering place of the peak alchemists of the Central Plains, was the true key to deciding the outcome. Therefore, Xiao Yan and Yao Lao immediately set out, heading straight for Holy Pill City. A new, decisive confrontation awaited them ahead. Each video is the result of careful selection and hard work. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe. The Star Realm War concluded with an outcome that shook the entire Central Plains. On the blazing battlefield, Xiao Yan, all by himself, slew 2 semi-sages, gravely injured another, and forced the Han clan to dispatch a doucant for reinforcement. This battle was like a thunderclap tearing apart the silent night, resounding across the world. The name of the Falling Star Pavilion, once trampled as weak, now thundered across the continent. Those who had once scorned them arrogantly now bowed in trembling submission. The Wind Lightning Pavilion, a force that had driven the Han clan to despair, was personally crushed by Xiao Yan. From that day on, the Han clan proudly ascended to the throne of Overlord in the northern region, a change in the balance of power thought to exist only in legends. In 10 days of blood and fire, nearly 20 sects were reduced to ashes. Though the flames of war had been extinguished, the aftershocks remained. The Central Plains trembled as they gazed toward the Falling Star Pavilion, which had transformed from a meek lamb into a fierce tiger, ready to pounce on any who dared to provoke them. Yet amid this triumphant chorus, Xiao Yan carried a solemn note in his heart. For beyond the cheers of victory, he was still bound by ties of love and debt from the past, threads tethering his soul between light and shadow. As the soldiers of the Falling Star Pavilion withdrew, Xiao Yan and Yao Lao did not rest. They immediately initiated a grand plan to form a supreme alliance capable of contending with the Hall of Souls. Summons were dispatched to 2 forces powerful enough to alter the fate of the world, the Flower Sect and the Blazing Flame Valley. At the Flower Sect, debates erupted like raging storms. To remain neutral or to join, to remain silent or to act, every argument was weighed. Yet it was the unwavering resolve of Yun Yun, the beautiful and resolute sect master, that left the Grand Elders with no retreat. At last, a decisive decree was made: form an alliance to stand against the Hall of Souls. Meanwhile, at the Blazing Flame Valley, the red-haired ancestor Huo Yun, whose temper burned like fire, initially dismissed the idea. But when Xiao Yan promised to rid him of the hidden calamity in his body, the old ancestor's eyes lit up and his long-suppressed might erupted once more. He laughed thunderously, his words roaring like dragon's cry and tiger's roar. Alliance. It has been so many years since I emerged. Let us see whether the world still remembers the name Huo Yun. News returned, and the grand hall of the Falling Star Pavilion erupted in cheers. Xiao Yan, Medusa, and the little Dr. Fairy sighed in relief. The first step is always the hardest, yet their path unfolded more smoothly than expected. Only Yao Lao cautioned, without the Pill Tower, the alliance was still but a sandcastle before crashing waves. Without hesitation, Xiao Yan and Yao Lao tore through space, heading to the Pill region and directly to the Pill Tower. They were greeted by the 3 giants, Xuan Kong, Zitian Luozi, and Xuan Yi, former peers of Yao Lao. Their reunion was filled with laughter, yet when Yao Lao revealed his intent, the atmosphere grew heavy. The Pill Tower had always been neutral. To break that tradition, only the ancient ancestor had the authority. But the ancestor had vanished for many years. Then a shocking secret was revealed. The ancestor was never human, but a mutated 9th-grade mysterious pill that developed sentience. The truth left Xiao Yan stunned. A pill that could transform into a human, leaving behind legacies. and many times saving the pill tower from destruction. But now he was gone, his whereabouts unknown. Without him, the decision of alliance rested on a vote of the Elder Council. Yao Lao, leveraging all his prestige together with the three giants, secured 5 votes, barely balancing against the opposing side. But just as hope glimmered, grim news struck. In 3 days, Elder Hu would rejoin the council. This man was stubborn, obstinate, and bore deep hatred toward Yao Lao. Once he appeared, the balance would surely tilt against them, turning all efforts into dust. Amid the deadlock, Xuanyi cast his gaze upon Xiao Yan, eyes gleaming. Yao Lao lacks the qualification, but Xiao Yan does. Champion of the pill, gathering bearer of the pill tower's giant's mantle, he has the right to challenge Elder Hao. Thus, in the square of the little pill tower, countless eyes turned toward Xiao Yan, the young man bearing the fate of the alliance on his shoulders. Elder Hao appeared, his voice cold as ice. Yao Chen, so you are not dead yet. Years ago you stole my chance. Today I shall crush both your pride and that of your disciple. The elder selection began. Elder Hu, giving his all, refined a pill that drew down the 9-colored pill lightning, an ultimate rarity that earned nods of approval from many elders. He laughed heartily, certain of his victory. But Xiao Yan was different. He did not use ordinary cauldrons, but wielded heavenly flames, conjuring a surging fire dragon to refine the Bodhi pill, a pinnacle 9th-grade pill. Then, amidst the thunderclouds, an anomaly occurred. The sky split open as a black bolt struck down. The black demon lightning, a pill tribulation so terrifying even semi-sages dared not withstand it. The entire crowd held their breath, certain that Xiao Yan was doomed. Yet, within the storm, Xiao Yan strode forth, standing tall like a spear. With a single punch he roared, "Break for me!" A thunderous explosion resounded, shattering the 9-colored pill lightning and dispersing the black demon lightning. And from the radiant light, a Bodhi Great Restoration pill emerged, a supreme pill surpassing the pinnacle, doubling the chance of breaking from Du Venerate to Semisage. The Grand Elder pronounced his voice like heavenly decree. The final victor, Xiao Yan. The entire square erupted in thunderous cheers. Xiao Yan was officially instated as a Pill Tower Elder, shattering Elder Hao's dreams and opening the gateway to the Alliance. The Falling Star Pavilion blazed with brilliance, welcoming heroes from all directions. The flower sect descended, led by the dignified Yun Yun. The fiery seas of the blazing Flame Valley surged as the Huoyun ancestor appeared, his red hair burning like eternal flame. The Pill Tower presented its new elder, Xiao Yan himself. At that moment, the Tianfu Alliance was officially born, its aura overwhelming heaven and earth. But just as cups were raised, a chilling black mist abruptly descended, twisting space itself. A phantom appeared, its solemn voice echoing, "Tianfu Alliance, not bad, but I wonder, will you still live long enough to enjoy it?" The Grand Hall shook. The phantom was none other than the Vice Hall Master of the Hall of Souls. He unveiled a cruel scene, Xiao Yan's father imprisoned in shackles within a dark dungeon, to force him into surrendering the Tusha ancient god's jade. In that instant, upon seeing his father, killing intent erupted within Xiao Yan, nearly overwhelming his reason. Yet he restrained the fury and coldly declared, severing all schemes, "As long as the ancient jade remains, my father lives. If its resonance vanishes, I shall hand it to the Gu clan. As for you, abandon your delusions forever." The phantom laughed eerily, left a chilling threat, and dissipated into the dark mist. The Grand Hall fell silent, but no will faltered. On the contrary, the attempted intimidation only steeled the resolve of the assembled forces. Xiao Yan stood tall at the hall's center, his voice booming like thunder. "The alliance is forged. From now on, the Hall of Souls is our mortal enemy. When they strike, we shall stand united in battle." All the experts nodded in unison. In that moment, a supreme storm rose over the Central Plains, heralding the great war that would decide the fate of the continent. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic battles. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next step in Xiao Yan's fiery journey with the Tianfu Alliance. In the previous episode, while everyone was celebrating the formation of the Tianfu Alliance, which united many major forces in the Central Plains, such as Blazing Flame Valley, Flower Sect, and Falling Star Pavilion, the Deputy Hall Master of the Hall of Souls suddenly appeared and threatened everyone. Yet, instead of fear, all the powerhouses stood united, determined to annihilate the Hall of Souls once and for all. Stay tuned as we dive into the next thrilling episode. You watch for 5 minutes, but we spent 5 days making it. Doesn't sound fair, right? Balance it out with 1 like and 1 sub. Thank you so much. Each of these factions had once been a giant in their own right. Now, joined together, Their combined might was earth-shattering, powerful enough to shake the entire Central Plains. Compared to the old Mingke alliance, the Tianfu alliance stood like an unshakable mountain that others could only look up to. The news spread like wildfire. Countless sects and clans, big and small, rushed to the Falling Star Pavilion, eager to join and seek protection. But Xiao Yan did not open his arms to everyone. He understood well that those who only came to take advantage of the wind would also be the first to betray when the storm arrived. Under his and Yao Lao's strict guidance, the alliance only accepted factions that were truly loyal and strong. With Honorable Feng, the former envoy, recalled to handle external affairs, the alliance quickly fell into order. The spatial gateways linking the four great factions were completed, allowing mutual support to arrive in an instant. A covert intelligence unit was also established to gather information on their greatest enemy, the Hall of Souls. Within half a month, they had already located 2 hidden branch halls, igniting the alliance's fighting spirit. Yet the Hall of Souls remained eerily silent, as if unconcerned by the rise of Tianfu. Yao Lao speculated that they were secretly preparing for something massive. The purifying demonic lotus flame would emerge in 9 months. When that time came, not only the Hall of Souls, but even the Han clan, the ancient power lurking in the shadows for centuries, would surely reveal themselves. Knowing this, Xiao Yan and his comrades hastened to strengthen their power. But while Xiao Yan's progress toward the Dosant realm was slow, Medusa Kailin, bearer of the 7-colored heaven, swallowing python bloodline, could rapidly advance if she absorbed enough energy. Yao Lao suggested she head to the 9 Serenity Yellow Springs, the sacred ground of the 9 serene underworld python tribe, where immense energy slumbered enough to help her reach the semi-sage level and perhaps even evolve into a 9-colored heaven-swallowing python, a being comparable to the Heaven Serpent Emperor. Xiao Yan knew that the decisive battle was not far away. Though the Tianfu alliance was flourishing to face the Han clan, the force that had once slain his ancestor Xiao Xuan would take far more than strength alone. They had only one path forward: to bide their time, build power in silence, and strike with a single fatal blow. From here, the winds of fate would stir again. The Central Plains would soon witness a cataclysmic war. The blazing light of the purifying demonic lotus flame would decide the destiny of the entire continent, and the name Xiao Yan would forever be etched into legend. After the formation of the Tianfu alliance, Xiao Yan began preparing to subdue the purifying demonic lotus flame, the third-ranked heavenly flame. Yao Lao warned him that his current Dosant cultivation was insufficient. This flame had once caused the death of countless experts, including the purifying demonic lotus saint himself, who was devoured by its power. To improve Xiao Yan's chances, Yao Lao gave him the recipe for the 9 Yin Yellow Spring pill, a 9th-grade pill capable of temporarily suppressing the flame's might. However, its key ingredient, the Yellow Spring blood essence, could only be found deep within the 9 Serenity Yellow Springs, sacred land of the 9 serene underworld pythons. Coincidentally, it was also the perfect place for Medusa to evolve into the 9-colored heaven swallowing python and gain unparalleled power. Thus, Xiao Yan, Medusa, Little Dr. Fairy, and Qinglin set off for the 9 Serenity Yellow Springs. Yet, as soon as they reached the border of the Beast region, they unexpectedly encountered members of the Taikshu ancient dragon tribe, who had no ties with the underworld pythons. Their sudden appearance signaled that this journey would be fraught with danger and conspiracy, the prelude to a much greater calamity. At the border of the Yellow Springs, Xiao Yan discovered a group exuding powerful dragon aura, members of the Taikshu ancient dragon tribe, but not under Xian's command. They were from the northern, southern, and western dragon islands, led by the 3 dragon kings themselves. Xiao Yan was shocked. The long-feared civil war within the dragon tribe had truly begun. He secretly followed them and intercepted the squad, led by Commander Qin. With a single wave of his hand, Xiao Yan sealed the entire space, rendering the mighty dragon warriors helpless. Under Xiao Yan's overwhelming pressure, Commander Qin was forced to confess everything. He revealed that the 3 dragon kings had joined forces to attack Xian's eastern dragon island. However, after her recent seclusion, Xian had emerged as the new Dragon Emperor, summoning the hidden elders to her side and bringing the conflict to a tense stalemate. The Northern Dragon Island forces were now traveling to the 9 Serene Underworld Python tribe to negotiate an alliance, seeking their help to destroy the Eastern Dragon Island. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come The three dragon kings had secretly allied with the heavenly demon Phoenix clan, the ancient dragon's mortal enemies, even promising to hand over Xiao Yan herself in exchange for their support. Fury erupted within Xiao Yan's heart. His eyes burned with killing intent. Such betrayal of bloodline and kin was unforgivable. Worse yet, Xiao Yan's life was now in grave danger. Realizing the dire situation, Xiao Yan swore to enter the void space at once to assist Xiao Yan in uniting the Taixu ancient dragon tribe and to annihilate the three traitorous dragon kings at all costs. The battle between the Dragon Emperor and the three dragon kings, between righteousness and treachery, had begun deep within the endless shadows of the void. After interrogating and disposing of the captured enemies, Xiao Yan and his companions began their descent into the depths of the earth, a realm where darkness and chilling mist intertwined. Together with Medusa, Little Dr. Fairy, and Qing Lin, he secretly entered the Nether Serpent Veins, the sacred land of the Nine Serene Underworld Python tribe. Here, powerful auras flickered in the shadows, and murderous intent filled the air like a storm of blades. Leaving behind the agonized screams of the sealed foes, Xiao Yan led the group through the oppressive darkness. Step by step, they advanced toward the Nine Serene Yellow Springs, a vast lake of murky gold streaked with crimson blood, radiating a sinister freezing aura that could solidify both duchi and souls alike. Beneath the veil of icy mist, Xiao Yan knew with grim clarity one mistake, and all four of them would be discovered and buried in this abyss forever. Yet for the sake of the Yellow Spring blood essence, the divine treasure that could help Kailin evolve into the nine-colored heaven-swallowing python, he did not hesitate. With a deep breath, his heavenly flame ignited, wrapping around him like a burning torch that defied the frozen hell surrounding them. Without a word, Xiao Yan dove straight into the depths of the Yellow Springs, his figure swallowed by the gloom. Amid the suffocating silence, only the howling wind and Kailin's unwavering gaze remained, eyes filled with resolve and faith. Thus began their journey between life and death, where Xiao Yan's flame burned defiantly against the eternal darkness of the underworld. Within the pitch-black heart of the Nine Serene Yellow Springs, Xiao Yan became a streak of blazing light amid the freezing waters. The heavenly flame roared fiercely around him, hissing and crackling as fire and frost collided in a symphony of resistance. He plunged deeper and deeper, his breathing growing heavier as the yin-cold force in the water tried to freeze even his blood. The further he went, the denser the cold became, until even the du-qi of a du-san began to stagnate. Realizing the danger, Xiao Yan gritted his teeth and accelerated, for in this place, even a single heartbeat of hesitation would turn him into a statue of ice. Suddenly a dark shadow surged toward Xiao Yan from within the murky waters, only to be shattered into fragments by his single punch. But before he could regain his composure, the entire undercurrent began to quake violently. Countless black serpents shot out from the depths, their bodies covered in thick scales, jaws wide open as they spat icy water arrows like a storm of frozen blades in the abyss. With a low growl, Xiao Yan's heavenly flame erupted, transforming into a blazing sea of fire that illuminated the Yellow Springs. The inferno scorched through the swarming monsters, each scream echoing like a shriek from hell. Yet even the flames began to dim as the cold surged in to smother them, forcing Xiao Yan to dive deeper, slipping through the freezing layers of water to avoid being surrounded. At last, in the endless gloom, a faint glimmer of light flickered at the bottom of the Yellow Springs. Gathering his strength, Xiao Yan pierced through the current toward it, only to find a vast bed of stone glowing with a faint golden hue. He searched the area carefully but found no trace of the Yellow Spring blood essence, the treasure for which he had risked his life to descend into this abyss. Just as despair began to rise, a hoarse, fragile voice whispered inside his mind, "Save me!" Alert, Xiao Yan's body tensed. His sharp gaze swept across the darkness before he thrust his palm downward. The rocky floor cracked open, revealing a colossal chain coiled across the lake bed. With each pull, 4 massive chains gradually emerged, locking down a patch of thick, blackened mud. When Xiao Yan blasted away the sludge, a desiccated corpse-like figure slowly surfaced. Its hollow eyes suddenly opened, igniting with a mad, fiery gleam. A voice cold enough to freeze one's soul resounded through the Yellow Springs. "Save me, save me. If you do, I shall make the entire Nine Serene Underworld Python tribe kneel beneath your feet." In the boiling black and gold waters, Xiao Yan's flames flickered faintly, and deep below something ancient and boundless stirred from its slumber. Within the frigid abyss of the 9 serene Yellow Springs, where even light was devoured by deathly chill, Xiao Yan stood face to face with the withered figure shackled by 4 enormous chains. An eerie, oppressive aura of resentment and malice pulsed from its body. When Xiao Yan spoke, a rasping voice like metal scraping stone replied, "I am Yao Ming, the true patriarch of the 9 serene Underworld Python tribe, betrayed, poisoned and imprisoned here by my own brother for centuries." Each of Yao Ming's words merged with the freezing current, exploding into waves of burning hatred that made the very space tremble. He begged Xiao Yan for salvation, promising to make the entire Nine Serene tribe bow to him in allegiance. But Xiao Yan's eyes remained cold. You want me to save you, fine, but you will surrender your soul to me. I will imprint my soul seal within you, and if you ever betray me, your soul will shatter into dust. Under the crimson glow of the heavenly flame, Yao Ming roared in anguish, his blood surging violently. At last he yielded. A black serpent-shaped soul slithered out from his forehead, trembling, as Xiao Yan's blazing soul mark seared deep into it. At that moment, a blood-red crystal floated out from Yao Ming's mouth, the yellow spring blood essence, a millennia-old treasure that pulsed with a strange living heartbeat. The crimson light gleamed across Xiao Yan's resolute face, as if reflecting both fire and vengeance. In that moment, a pact between flame and hatred was forged, heralding the rise of a hidden storm that would soon shake the entire Nine Serene underworld python tribe.